July 12th, 2025 on a Saturday. Welcome to Cozy Corner TV, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Kieran Smith, call me Q, and we are on the corner. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Oh yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend thus far. So, as promised, here we are with the first live stream of the day. My bad, it's not earlier in the day, guys, but later in the day works a little bit better. Sometimes on Saturday, I have a men's group that I go to that I have told you guys about before. I've been a part of that men's group for a couple of years now. So I like to be there, be a part of those conversations with other godly men, Christians, having hard conversations, but much needed conversations. So I hope you guys, this Saturday is going well thus far. Where I'm at, it is hot. Not as hot as it's been before, but it's rather hot today. But nonetheless, we're going to keep it moving. So, since we are about to react to some news, as an advocate for mental health awareness, I always want to make sure that you guys are good before we jump into the news. It could be triggering, it could be bothersome, you could be okay, and then you could be bothered. So make sure you're grounded and regulated. If you're not, come back later. If you are, we're about to get the live stream started. So first up on the menu today, we have Charlie Kirk. Shout out to Mr. Charlie Kirk. We have Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson. They are talking about Epstein and the uniparty scam killing America. I thought this was hilarious. We got Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson talking about a uniparty scam in America. So this is where I can kind of appreciate Republicans that are not far right, or let's say right extremists. At least I don't think I would put Charlie and Tucker in that category, right extremists, right, or far right. But I think I put them a little bit more, let's just say right reasonable. Let's just say that. Sometimes people might say, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. I have reason to say right reasonable. But nonetheless, I think it is hilarious just to see these two saying that there's a uniparty scam killing America. So I was dying to bring this to you guys and react to this. We react to Charlie Kirk on the channel often, and Tucker Carlson sometimes. So I think this one's going to be good. It's a little over 37 minutes. We're not going to watch that entire thing because I want you guys to go to Charlie's channel and give him his due views. So we might go about 17 minutes in and maybe leave the 20 for you guys to go watch, or maybe go 20 minutes in and leave the 17 for you guys to go watch. Cammy, shout out to you. How you doing? Namesh, shout out to you. How you guys doing? Happy Saturday. Hit that like button for me, guys. And then we're going to switch gears and go over to CNN. Deputy FBI chief considering resigning amid clash over Epstein. Right? So, Lego, shout out to you. Let's see what Lego's saying. I will sub if you say the N-word. What kind of N-word? Like no? Or like nostalgic? What we talking about here? All right, CNN, deputy chief considering resigning amid clash over Epstein files. So the deputy FBI chief that's considering resigning is Dan Bongino, in case you guys aren't familiar with who that is. So there are some rumors saying that he is considering resigning simply because just some things going with the Epstein files, just because this client list has seemed to have disappeared or have been non-existent. I said that I kind of agree with Ben Shapiro saying that it's never really existed, but you have some people like Candace Owens and some people saying no, they're just flat out lying. So we're going to take a look at that. Let me take the moment to give the chat a shout out. No, Namesh, keep it up, bro. Good streaming. If you, Namesh, what's up? Shout out to you, man. Thanks for stopping by again. Lego, you're hilarious. Put that in capital letters. It makes it better. All right, and then we're going to switch over to Bill O'Reilly. Shout out to Mr. Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly takes on Democrat loons, Epstein with Chris Cuomo. So we know Bill O'Reilly and Chris Cuomo are good friends. They tend to collab together on certain types of, let's just say, conservative commentary. And liberal. We'll say liberal too. We know Bill O'Reilly tends to lean a lot more conservative than Chris Cuomo does. So we're going to get into the first clip of the live stream, guys. First up, we got Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson talking about this uniparty scam that is killing America. Let's take a listen.
So let's get right to it. We have 30 minutes with Tucker Carlson. Tucker, come on out here. So Tucker, welcome.
Well, it's nice to see you, Charlie.
In the interest of time, let's get to the boring stuff first.
Okay.
Do you have any opinion on the Epstein situation?
You know, I'll be honest, I'm with Ben Shapiro. I think we know enough. We don't need to know anymore. I trust the government. I think Fox News had a piece by Hugh Hewitt today saying only crazy people who have barren personal lives are unhappy enough to concoct these like insane conspiracy theories that maybe Jeffrey Epstein was up to no good. So I'm happy with that. No, I mean, I'm disgusted by the whole thing. The point of electing Trump, and it's a real point, and by the way, I think we can make good on it, but is that the two parties are in alignment in a very sinister way with each other on the big issues. You don't really get a choice. You vote for Lindsey Graham, how is it really different from voting for a Democratic member of the Senate? It isn't, and Trump is the option to the two-party megalith. And this last week, a decision that the Attorney General made, I don't think out of malice, I think out of incompetence, gives the impression that Trump is in on it. And that's a terrible thing. It's very discouraging for his voters, including me, someone who campaigned for him. I don't think
so. Notice he said the decision the Attorney General made, so he's referring to Pam Bondi. Let me make sure he said exactly that.
This last week, a decision that the Attorney General made, I don't think out of malice, I think out of incompetence, gives the impression that Trump is in on it. And that's a terrible thing. It's very discouraging for his voters, including me, someone who campaigned for him. I don't think Trump is in on it, by the way, just in point of fact. I think this is a decision that Pam Bondi made, but I think they need to fix it right away.
So here in the audience, raise your hand if this matters a lot to you. Raise your hand. So Tucker, for those on podcasting, some people are raising like 2 hands.
I'm with you, baby.
What? So Tucker, talk to me as if I'm like in 4th grade. What? Because the Washington Press Corps did ask no questions about it this day. They had 10 questions of President Trump, and they didn't ask once about this. So they asked about like Brazilian tariffs, like really random stuff. Explain why the base cares so much about this.
So Jeffrey Epstein was a math teacher at the Dalton School in New York before he got a college degree. He was hired by a guy called
Blaze Donut, shout out to you.
Who was the headmaster of Dalton, whose son amazingly later became Attorney General of the United States twice, and was the guy who Bill Barr, who first signed off on the ludicrous idea that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in prison after 36 days after like telling his lawyer that he was going to get out in a week. And this guy without a college degree and no kind of work history wound up making billions of dollars from no obvious source whatsoever, jetting around the world with the most famous people in the world and having this incredibly weird exotic sex life that over time it became clear was a blackmail scheme designed to entrap the world's most powerful people in compromising positions and use the information against them to get them to do the will of whoever's running this blackmail scheme. So this, I think, became pretty obvious to everybody, except for the National Press Corps that just did not want to talk about it. Epstein dies. There's no investigation into it. Donald Barr's son, who's then Attorney General, tells us, no, he killed himself, really, but all the cameras were broken. And so this is sort of boiled beneath the surface for anyone who's interested at all in like what was Epstein, digs in a little bit and finds out to this day, so we're now 6 years after his murder, we don't know where the money came from. We still don't know where the money came from.
And can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
It wasn't just millions. He was living as if he was worth $10 billion. We're talking about palatial estates.
Yeah, the largest private residence in Manhattan.
So the magnitude of wealth, I hope you understand, this was not like a couple $100 million bucks. He was living like he was he was a co-founder of Meta.
No, but right out in the open. And everybody in famous person world was rolling through the house for dinner, and most of them I don't think did anything wrong.
Like George Stephanopoulos.
Exactly. I mean, I know George, I disagree with him on everything. I don't think he's a sex freak. I think he was just invited over for dinner with this guy, and everyone else is, the Prime Minister of Israel is living there, Ehud Barak, and like lots of people are there who aren't bad people. They're just like they know Jeffrey Epstein. But then he winds up indicted again. He comes back from France, gets indicted again, and famously dies in federal lockup in Manhattan. And it's very obvious from the beginning that this is not a suicide. And then the medical examiner's like, no, he was strangled to death. So all of this information's on the internet. Everybody who cares to know knows it. They're not conspiracy theorists. They're not mentally ill. And Pam Bondi knows it, and she's talked about it a lot. And she goes on Fox, and she's like, actually, it's all true. And we've got thousands of videos of underage girls being abused. And I have the client list on my desk, and I'm going to release all of this. And then,
remember that,
4
right?
days ago, she comes out with an official statement from the Department of Justice saying, actually, no, he did kill himself, we know that for a fact. And here's an edited video from an irrelevant angle that proves it, even though, of course, it does not at all prove it. And we have no evidence that he hurt anybody, we're not indicting anyone, and his former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail, and that's enough, and he's dead, and it was a natural death, and like, shut up, conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
And people who voted for Trump, not the left, Trump voters rise up on the internet in full revolt. And not just on Twitter, where there are some wackos, to be honest, and me, non-wackos too, but like normal people, 65-year-old Trump voters who are like, I don't, believe that aliens running the government or anything, but you're lying to me. And not only are you lying to me, you're patronizing me and calling me names when I ask questions. You're acting like the freaking liberals do. When they don't want to answer a question, they just call you a racist and move on. Like, no, I voted for you because I wanted you to respect me as a citizen and pay me the compliment of treating me like an adult, and you're not. So I do think, I know something about it, I do think that most people in the Trump administration, including the president, didn't realize that they were stepping into this. I think a lot of people at DOJ, including Dan Bongino, who I consider a decent man, a man of integrity.
He might resign over this.
Yeah, I do like Dan too.
Right now, I think they kind of got blindsided by this. I think it was, I know it was Pam Bondi who issued this statement, and I don't think Pam Bondi's a bad person. I don't think she's covering up for Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what I know to be true, since you asked. They don't have any information on Jeffrey Epstein's sex crimes, actually. And they never have had any. Because in 2007, under the Bush administration, when he was indicted and the search warrant was issued, if you read the search warrant, which I think is online and you can read it, it's written in such a way not to reveal information about Jeffrey Epstein, but to hide it, to protect Jeffrey Epstein. He was being protected then, and so they didn't gather the information. I've never had custody of information showing who was having sex with these underage girls as part of this blackmail deal. I think that's the actual truth. So the real scandal here is who he was working for and where the money came from. That's the actual scandal, and no one will say anything about it because the answer
was it American intelligence?
No,
was it Saudi intelligence? Was it British intelligence?
It was Israeli intelligence. And everyone's embarrassed to say that because you're not allowed to say that or something because you're a hater, but you're not a hater at all. You can think Israel's a great country that deserves our support, as I do.
My best memories are in Israel.
Yeah, it's great. I take my family on vacation there. But it's still a foreign country, and it's a fair question to ask, were you running a blackmail scheme in our country? And I think the answer is yes. So they were asked, and we're not going to tell you. And it's so why are we sending you all this money every year?
I remember
if you want to
that.
answer a simple question. If you're actually running a criminal enterprise in our country, which it seems like they were, then you should answer the question, and no American citizen should be embarrassed to ask that. It doesn't make you a hater or a wacko.
No, not at all.
If the former Israeli
Or
prime minister was sitting in his
anti-Semitic.
house, what was that? And if his girlfriend and co-conspirator is the daughter of a Mossad agent, which she was, why is it crazy to ask that question? It's not crazy. Actually, it's very obvious. And no one should be embarrassed to ask that. No one should be made to feel like a hater for asking that. Asking a question about a foreign country does not make you a bigot at all. And in fact, the effect of not asking that question, the rest of us are all kind of embarrassed and oh, can you really say that? What that right there causes hatred and creepiness, and everyone feels like it has to be conducted in secret. When you're not allowed to be straightforward about something, the conversation and the thoughts tend to become diseased. The same is true of sex, by the way.
I've talked about Patriot Mobile's commitment to faith, family, and freedom. Have you made the switch yet? Support your values with your cell phone without sacrificing quality or service. Use promo code KIRK25 for a free month of service.
So then is the fact he was an Israeli intelligence asset, is that public knowledge now, or is that
It's
inferred?
obvious to anybody. Well, Israel has not confirmed that and won't, which I think is amazing.
And they've been asked,
They've been asked directly.
and they say what?
We're not
We're
answering
not
the
going to
question.
tell you.
Okay, so
Yep,
not no.
That's exactly
So my
what
point would
we
be, look, then you're not getting any funding. You're not getting $1 chance. It's our country, and if you're running a criminal enterprise on our soil, countries do dumb things. We've done a lot of dumb things. But you begin by admitting it and saying, I'm sorry we did that. We won't do it again. That's fine.
And do you think our government was involved at all? Because that's
My
the question. Was
understanding
it
is-
overlapping? And I don't know the answer. Was it?
Well, I think I do, but everyone lies about everything, so I could be completely wrong. But here's what I believe to be true. I think there's been enough. I think this is maybe the one crime the CIA is not responsible for, which is kind of amazing. There's such a long list.
I don't know, Tucker.
I know.
You gotta win me over on that one.
But what's kind of crazy is that even to say that, I mean, it's probably public. My dad worked for the CIA. It's like, I'm from the United States. I love this country passionately. I have no problem admitting the truth, which is that the CIA, which has a lot of probably decent people who work there, including, as I already admitted, some I know and love, has done horrible things. That doesn't make me anti-American or a bigot or something. It's okay to criticize government agencies when they do bad things. And if they're foreign government agencies, why in the world would that be not allowed to say there are tons of things Mossad does that I agree with, there's some things I disagree with, including running criminal enterprises in my country? Like, no, you're not allowed to do that. Spying on us, not allowed to do that. Period. And I don't know why no one feels free to say it. There's not one American politician who will say that.
Why would you be allowed
And
to
the
spy
effect
on
of
us?
that is to make everybody crazy. And also, by the way, very anti-Israel. Like, if you want to make people hate something, tell them they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
Call them names when they ask honest questions about it. That's what's happening right now. And you often hear people say, like, what's all this anti-Israel sentiment going on the internet? And there's a lot of it. In fact, way too much for me, I'll just be honest.
And the Jew hate is out of control. I hate that stuff.
I don't like it. I'm a Christian. I don't think that you should assess people on the basis of the group they belong to.
I agree.
Every person has a soul. Every person is created by God. You should assess each person on the basis of that person.
On their merits.
God knows every
Obviously.
hair on your head, we're told. So each person is distinct and unique. You're not a faceless cog. You're not a member of a group, a herd. You're a human being created in the image of the Creator. So I just don't like that whole way of thinking, but it's everywhere all of a sudden, and you have to ask, why is it everywhere? Well, one of the reasons, probably a lot of reasons, but one is because anybody who asks obvious questions like, hey, were you running a sexual blackmail scheme in my country? Shut up, says Ben Shapiro, you're an anti-Semite. Well, no, I'm not. Why is it not a fair question? There's tons of evidence this is happening. Like, are you joking? You're not going to shout me down, by the way, at this point. I spent 4 years being shouted down by the left for asking, I thought, pretty reasonable questions. I have always felt very moderate. I'm not a hater at all. And I'm not going to
Questions you should be allowed to
I don't think my
ask.
questions are insane. They may be stupid. But if they're stupid, then just speak slowly so I can understand as you answer them. They're not crazy. And if they are, tell me how. But dismissing me out of hand by attacking my motive is not going to work. And telling me that my question is an insult to the children who died in Texas in a flood is an outrageous response. You are... Anyway, sorry. And I say that with love, but I voted against that kind of crap. It's not just the argument, it's the style of argument. You are not allowed to dismiss my questions as a United States citizen with a wave of the hand and an attack on my character. Yeah. You get the middle finger in the face from me for doing that until you stop doing it. So I think we have an absolute right to demand sensible answers. And the first question is, who the hell was Jeffrey Epstein working for? Why did Leon Black pay him $100 and something million for tax advice? Don't stop lying to me. It's not tax advice. I have an accountant. It's not that expensive. And like, what was this? And it's anyway. Last thing I'll say, just as you're following along, my understanding as of 6:45 p.m. Friday is that this really isn't about sex as much as it's about the international and financial intel questions. That's what it's about. Those are we know Jeffrey Epstein was a sex freak. We know a lot of women were hurt. But what we don't know is why. And so I think it's fair, or at least I plan to going forward over the next week, as we're going to dig into this pretty hard, is to press those questions. Like, what was big picture? What was this about?
What are the questions you're going to ask?
What was this?
Where do you...
How do you go from being, a math teacher at Dalton to having your own private island in the largest house in Manhattan?
And so who is Les Wexner?
Les Wexner.
He's alive, I guess, right?
Les Wexner is the former CEO of a company called The Limited, which is a massive clothing...
Victoria's Secret or something, right?
Correct, Abercrombie & Fitch, I think, and a bunch of different...
And he lives in Ohio.
Clothing companies. Right? Richest person in Ohio, super impressive guy in a lot of ways, very rich guy. And he wound up financing a lot of Epstein's life. And he's never been interviewed by the feds, ever. And so that's like right there. Who made the decision not to interview the guy who's bankrolling the whole thing? You arrest Jeffrey Epstein, but it's like, well, where did Jeffrey Epstein get the plane? I'm 56, I've worked 6 days a week my whole life. I fly in Southwest. Like, how do you get a plane?
He had multiple.
What are you even talking? Like, where did that come from?
He had multiple Gulf Streams, multiple.
Right, okay.
Which each one is 30, 40, 50 million.
I'm not saying he didn't deserve the plane. I'm just saying, what did he do to get the plane?
And can I go a step further? There are no trades to Jeffrey Epstein's name at any of the trading desks.
Right.
So this guy allegedly was a wealth manager. Someone who he's Brett Weinstein's brother, Eric Weinstein. He's right on some stuff, disagree on other, but he had a really good point. He said he sat down with Epstein once. He said within 5 minutes, he said this guy was a total fraud. This guy he was like weird and crass and talked about weird sex stuff, but he wasn't deep, like at all.
Right.
And like, because Weinstein, you can't call him dumb, he would ask questions about financial instrumentation and derivatives, and Epstein knew nothing about it. So here's a guy that we have no trades to his name. Anyone who met him never was like, this is like a brilliant guy. And yet he ends up with a lifestyle, you would think that he's worth $50 billion.
Well, you knew he wasn't brilliant because he kept sending money to Harvard to put his name on things. So what you have there is a very recognizable kind of social insecurity, status anxiety that comes from inadequate people who want to convince you that they're like really impressive and earn what they have. And it's a very common tick in our ruling class now, most of whom are deeply mediocre, a lot of whom have gotten rich in businesses that are basically dishonorable, lending money at exorbitant rates, and they are trying to like let you know that they're legit. And so that's just a tell for me as a person that Epstein was a guy who didn't make his money the old-fashioned way by doing something innovative and clever and working hard. He did it by means and in the service of something that he didn't want to admit publicly. So anyway, those are the questions that I would ask. And my strong sense is that it is dawning on the administration, thank heaven, that this is a huge problem. I think there are always going to be people like Ben Shapiro or Hugh Hewitt at Fox News who are like, oh, it's just, who cares about this guy? He's already, like when Ben Shapiro was telling us, who cares who killed Kennedy? That was a long time ago. Okay. He was the elected president of the United States, fair to ask. But there are some people, I think, administration are like, yeah, really, Jeffrey Epstein, like, is that the biggest thing going on in the world right now? And I think they sort of missed, not all, but some, that it's a metaphor for everything.
Yeah.
It's like, how do all these people get so rich in the first place? Not just Jeffrey Epstein, but like, how did Bill Ackman get so rich? Is he really like a market genius? Is he? Is he like $9 billion smart? I know, no. Not. Like, what is that? And why can't my kids buy a house anymore? Like, what's going on in this country? Why are a small number of pretty sleazy people collecting all the money and everyone else is like going backward, which is happening? And why are they, no, I'm serious. And those people, no matter what they do, are never punished for anything. Like, no matter what they do, they're never punished for anything. Bill Ackman goes on TV and is like, Herbalife is terrible. Driving down, this is very common, using CNBC to drive down stock prices and then betting against them in the market's called shorting. How in the world does that benefit the American economy? How is that capitalism as we were taught as kids? How is charging 30% on a credit card legal? When the mafia tried that, they went to jail under RICO. But that's suddenly allowed? A buddy of mine's daughter just got in trouble with a car loan. She refinanced her car at 40% interest. I said, let's get guns and go get the money back. And by the way, the last thing I'll say is,
oh man.
The one topic that nobody ever talks, everyone's like all about race hatred and you should hate this group for that reason and it's the fault of this group, white people,
some
black
people think only
whatever.
black people think
The
like
one thing
that.
that nobody ever debates in public is how the economy is structured.
Exactly right.
And why do hardworking people who actually add something to the country, who actually do meaningful work, creative work that's essential, string the power lines, teach the children, defend the borders, why are they getting paid the least? And people like Bill Ackman talking on Herbalife on CNBC's got $9 billion. Like, what is that? And you can't tell me if I oppose it that I'm a socialist, because I'm not. I was right-wing before you were born, son. Shut up. I'm not a socialist. But by the way, socialism is what we're going to get.
Well, that's the point.
If we don't address it.
You get Mom Donnie.
This kid in New York who's a total creep, oh, there it is. This kid in New York, who I don't like at all, who's like just full rich kid, like training vax guy, they're all the same. It's not even real socialism, but everyone's like, I can't believe he's gonna win. Of course he's gonna win. Because our economy is so distorted, so rigged against hardworking, honest people, American-born people, that they will, in the end, move to another system out of frustration. And that's exactly what happened in Venezuela.
Happening.
Totally agree.
I know. I've been saying this since I
That's
wrote
what's
that book, whenever that was. They ultimately fired me for it, but it's still true.
Didn't I say this on stage at the beginning, guys? That economic disorder will lead to political radicalism, and
More than anything.
And so.
And I think they invented the training stuff to keep you off that. I'm starting to
I
think
don't
that.
know.
Like,
I mean,
I fell for that. I was so offended by that.
Well, we still should. It's still very real.
Oh, dude, I'm still offended by it. I'll never
Okay.
stop being offended by it.
I'm not over the training.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I totally agree.
Okay.
It was
I'm
like,
just making sure we're not done. With the training.
it was like power bait, and I was a bass. I mean, I hit it immediately. And I will continue to hit it.
Me too.
Okay.
I just so we're clear.
I'm
we're not
with
done.
you.
Okay, we're gonna be on that
But it was
bait.
used in a very tricky way.
I agree. No, that's right.
So inflame normal people that they couldn't even think about other things like, why can't my kids buy a house? That's the question that makes me madder than any other question.
What you're getting at, and
I bought a house at 23.
I think what you're getting at is super profound. What you're saying is that there is a deliberate smokescreen operation
Yes!
by the ruling class to have us talk about stuff that is important but not as consequential as basic living necessities. Is that your argument, that they're throwing a bunch of smokescreen grenades?
And I don't mean to be mean to Ben Shapiro, who I like personally, but he's just like a living metaphor for this. It's like, he'll do like 9 hours on trannies, 127 hours in Israel, but then if you're like, wait a second, why are we taxing income at twice the rate of investing? Twice the rate! I'm a rich person, by the way, just obviously. So, like, I guess I should be for lower capital gains rates, but, like, I don't understand why someone who goes to work every day and makes a wage is paying twice the income tax as someone who's investing money in a PE firm. What's the answer? Shut up, Marxist! Okay. If that's your answer, I don't believe you. And that's like a real debate that we ought to have. We ought to have an economy that rewards decency, hard work, actual innovation, not fake AI innovation or just implants a chip in your brain. It's cool. That's not innovation, that's dystopia, okay? But actual innovation, like making your life better, making it possible for you to spend more time with your kids. That does not mean faster texting, okay? Or anything having to do with an iPhone. All this technology stuff is a full-on lie. Doesn't improve anybody's life. It's true. You got antibiotics.
Surgery's big.
I guess, yeah. I'm for surgery. I've had a couple.
No, like, I mean, you need an appendectomy. I
had an appendectomy.
Okay.
It was awesome.
I
enjoyed it.
I think surgery's a good thing.
Surgery? I'm not going full Kaczynski here. I'm
just trying to make sure we keep ourselves a little.
Next time,
Advil is okay.
Advil's so bad, dude.
Well, if you need it.
It's so bad. My college roommate got liver disease from it. Look, I don't take any Advil. Just drink water. I don't use whatever. Don't even get me going. Do I oppose electricity? Yeah, kind of.
Antibiotics. We can at least agree.
Whoever said woo, I'm on your side. Woo.
We do overuse antibiotics.
We do. But the point is, here's what drives me bonkers, and here's the conversation I think we need, is where do the smart, ambitious young people go? They are the country. Okay? I'm losing intelligence and ambition and youth at a high rate.
They're here at this conference.
It's not about me. It's about the 23-year-old who's like, oh man, I gotta make my way in the world. What do I do? How can I do it?
Conference.
That's not the answer, dude. Been there, doesn't. No, call me. No, that person is either going into technology or money lending. That's it. And by technology, it's high technology. It's not how do we get more efficient power lines. It's how do we make a circular saw with a tighter curve. It's not meaningful technology, it's how do we make a more addictive video game? Or how do we totally destroy human agency forever by creating a machine to think for people?
Right.
It's like the worst kind of technology.
As if social media hasn't been already grossly debilitating for Gen Z and even some millennials. So yeah, I agree with a lot of what Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk talked about here. I knew this was Charlie's conference. I was trying to find it in the description, but he didn't really list it as he just listed a lot of his sponsors, but I was trying to see if this was his conference. But based on the way that Tucker just said it, yeah, it was. And it's interesting because I'm listening to this and he's like, why can't my kids buy a house? He said that that's the most frustrating thing for him because he bought a house when he was 23 years old. And I'm like, oh my goodness, 23 years old. I'm like, what we wouldn't give for that today. But it's like, I think about the age of 23 and I think about the economy and I'm like, that's almost impossible at this point. Like, I'm not gonna say it's impossible because you have YouTubers that are getting paychecks off of their YouTube content. Like, I'm talking about streamers that are huge that have been doing this for a long time, like maybe Osmond Gold or PewDiePie or something like that, and they're making bank to where, yeah, they can probably live off of that, right? But everyone's not making that type of money. So to buy a house at 23, it's like, wow, you know. So I could understand if he bought a house at 23. He's like, that's the most frustrating thing for me. Like, why can't my kids buy a house, and why does it seem like there's this small group of people that are constantly, you know, collecting and making money while everyone else seems to be losing out? And that is actually happening. So the fact that he admitted that that was actually taking place is what I thought was awesome. I was like, okay, Tucker, all right. You know, I like Tucker Carlson in general. Like, I've watched his podcast a couple times. I've watched him with certain guests, and I've watched him on his own as well. So I think he has a good take on some things, but I also think that that's because he is older. Let me take a look, because I remember the first time I found out his age, and I was like, really? But I don't think I've actually ever... Yeah, I didn't ever fact check it. I thought he was like in his late 40s, but he's actually 56. And I remember the first time someone told me, I was like, no, Tucker Carlson's not in his 50s. That's crazy. And they were like, dude, yeah, he is. Like, he's been around a while. And I'm like, not Bill O'Reilly a while, but for some time. And it's like, yeah, when I found that out, then it made sense to me. I was like, okay, no wonder why I like him, because he's, you know, he has an older perspective, so he's more reasonable. Let's just say that. All right, guys, so we're going to switch gears now and go over to CNN. Shout out to them. Deputy FBI chief considering resigning amid clash over Epstein, right? So mainstream media, we covered, because we got to get some of the story from somewhere and other places, which I have watched it, but I appreciated some stuff that CNN just added into this, right? As far as just making information be known. So about a 10-minute clip. I like Dan Bongino a lot. So when I saw this headline, I was like, oh man, I really hope that this does not happen. But let's take a look at what CNN covered.
Blame game happening within the Department of Justice over the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Multiple sources tell CNN the FBI's deputy director, Dan Bongino, is considering resigning following a tense confrontation with U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi over the handling of the Epstein case. CNN's Evan Perez is here with the latest.
Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino didn't show up to work on Friday, and he's told people he is considering resigning, an indication of the internal discord that has been brewing among top officials of the Justice Department and the FBI over the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Bongino and Attorney General Pam Bondi got into a heated confrontation in recent days over news media leaks that showed FBI officials disagreed with Bondi's handling of the issue. Bongino denied that he was behind the leaks. On Monday, the Justice Department released an unsigned memo that confirmed that Epstein was not murdered in prison in 2019, where he was awaiting trial for sex trafficking charges. The memo also said that there was no so-called client list and that the department would not release more documents. The reaction from Trump supporters has been angry, even though Trump himself has said he thinks the matter is closed. Prominent pro-Trump media figures, including Laura Loomer, have called for Bondi to be fired. And on Friday, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche pushed back on Loomer, saying that the FBI and justice officials worked together on that Monday memo and that there's no daylight among the officials on this issue. Blanche is right that Bongino and FBI Director Kash Patel all agreed on Monday's memo. But behind the scenes, we are told by sources that FBI and justice officials have been at odds for months about the handling of the Epstein files review. But the White House is standing by Bondi, and officials are hoping that Bongino cools off over the weekend and comes back to work on Monday.
Evan Perez. Thank you so much, Evan Perez. All right, I'm joined now by CNN legal analyst Michael Moore. He is a former U.S. attorney. Great to see you. Glad you could be here. All right, so my colleague Aaron Burnett spoke with former Trump White House lawyer Ty Cobb about what Bongino's path looks like going forward. Take a listen.
And Bongino either has to come back from the weekend and say, gee, sorry, I had a bad day, and looks forward to working with, his esteemed colleagues and moving forward, or he's gone, because Bondi's not going and Patel's not going.
So President Trump is getting a whole lot of rare backlash, in fact, from his base, and it's aimed, squarely at Pam Bondi. Do you see that potentially she were to step down or that he were to fire her?
I think that's really unlikely. I think it's completely unlikely that she does anything. I think there are too many sacrificial lambs around her, and she's sort of a favorite right now, and she puts on the praise at the cabinet meeting and everything else, and I think that probably secures her position, at least in the meantime. Bongino's made no secret he's not happy in the job, and so this sort of loss of credibility and loss of face with his former listeners, I think may be enough to push him over the edge.
And Evan Perez's, sources saying that he didn't expect that this job would be this complicated. I mean, this is, deputy, director for the FBI. That's a tough and heavy load.
These folks have not been like at the trough of public service for years. These are really just Trump loyalists and party people that Trump has sort of slid into position. So it's folks who clearly we've seen it in other positions who they're just not up to the task. We see it in some of the other positions that Trump has filled, and so this may be one of those that sort of caught this guy off guard, and he's gone from sort of a mouth on a podcast now to having to actually do something about the problems that the country faces and the issues in the FBI, and he may say it's just not for me.
Outside looking in, there are a lot of people who are commenting, including a former FBI deputy director, Andy McCabe. He talked to CNN about this. Listen.
If you're an agent in the FBI right now, or a leader in the FBI, or anyone in the FBI, you're watching this circus take place at the absolute highest levels of the organization, and you're asking yourself, like, these are our leaders? Like, we are supposed to protect America and uphold the Constitution, and the deputy director himself might resign over some manufactured conflict about people who are angry about a conspiracy theory that didn't work out the way they liked. This thing is, it's absurd.
So he's now looking outside, but he's been on the inside, so he really understands and knows the dynamics here. So how problematic might it be, that this feud, presents something really terrible between, the FBI as well as the, Attorney General's office? Whose credibility is taking the biggest hit here?
Yeah, these really are just two folks wrestling in a mud puddle of their own making. Right now, they've created this problem, and they've got to deal with it. Typically you count on the FBI to really be in lockstep with the Attorney General and the Department of Justice as they're under the Department of Justice. You're just not seeing that now. The problem is what they've done is so outside the norm for DOJ and for the FBI to make these kind of statements, to start talking about. You remember when they came out of a meeting and they're waving around a notebook that talks about the Epstein files as if somehow this is a big, they've got it here, and Pam Bondi says it's on my desk, and now none of that's backed up. And so you've got people like Bongino saying, and I'm not a champion for him, I'm simply saying he's looking at it thinking, well, I had a job before, I was probably making decent money. I may not have those same listeners come back to me now because it's clear that, somebody's not telling the truth somewhere, and I'm going to be the one who they're saying is not telling the truth. And so it's a problem, but but Andy's right. It's a problem for the morale inside the organization.
Especially for those, career public servants.
Well, look at who's been appointed to lead them.
Right.
That was sort of a circus through the confirmation process anyway. So they sort of have dealt with that, and now it's all coming back to roost, and we're seeing that these bad choices for leadership are playing out in how the FBI and the DOJ function on a day-to-day basis together.
All right, Michael Moore, we're going to have you back, talk about something else, but maybe too, lesson learned here is sometimes everything doesn't need to be public, especially preemptive to, when all the stuff is there.
Don't campaign on conspiracies. That's what it is.
Oh, there you go. That too. The deputy director of the FBI deciding whether he will leave his post. Dan Bongino did not show up for work on Friday, according to multiple sources. Those sources telling CNN that he has told people that he is considering stepping down amid a major clash between the FBI and the Justice Department over the Jeffrey Epstein case. And that he reportedly had a heated confrontation with the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi about her handling of the Epstein case. It all started Monday. That's when the agency denied the government was keeping files about Epstein's so-called client list secret. The DOJ also claiming that there's no evidence that Epstein was murdered while behind bars. Two conspiracy theories that much of Trump's base had obsessed about and Bongino himself had pushed.
The questions surrounding this alleged suicide are numerous.
That's what Bongino's saying right now here on the screen. So it says the questions surrounding this alleged suicide are numerous and are worth entertaining and worth getting to the bottom of quickly. Don Bongino, the Don Bongino Show.
Yeah. And are worth entertaining and worth getting to the bottom of quickly.
That was in
What the hell are they
2019.
hiding with Jeffrey Epstein? Why do they want to make this Jeffrey Epstein story go away so bad? I'm not ever going to let this story go because of what I heard from a source about Bill Clinton on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not letting it go ever.
And Bongino's boss, FBI Director Kash Patel, has also accused the...
And he said that in 2019. So that explains why he's so upset about everything, because he said, I'm never going to let this go.
DOJ of concealing crucial details about this case.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls.
That was before he became FBI director. And then adding to the suspicion, DOJ of concealing crucial details about this case.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls.
That was before he became
That's
FBI director.
Yeah.
And then adding to the suspicion, the DOJ released surveillance video from outside Epstein's jail cell on the day that he died. At one point, that video jumps forward, cutting out 60 seconds. Bondi is claiming that it was an outdated recording system. But that explanation, as well as the Justice Department claiming there's nothing else to release, is now angering many in the MAGA world who won't take no for an answer. Here are just two of the biggest names.
Like, they're not fooling anybody, so I feel like we're at a dangerous point now.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we were promised
Lord
one thing,
Homer.
and we have not received that promise. So I hope that President Trump will fix this by firing Pam Bondi.
Oh my gosh.
And as we know,
They're
far-right
so upset.
activist Laura Loomer has a direct line to Trump, and she is not letting up on this call for Bondi to be fired. She tweeted Friday, President Trump, please listen to your base. We love you, and we are respectfully asking you to fire Pam Bondi. Well, the knives are clearly out for Bondi, who back in February was suggesting this alleged list of Epstein's powerful friends that had ties to his sordid activities would be released.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
All right, Bondi has since backtracked, and that's not going over well with Trump's top friends at the FBI, who before Trump took office had accused the Biden administration of a cover-up.
Yep. That's why I knew this was going to be. There's been a couple of things that have happened that I've just flat out said, okay, this is going to be bad for the administration. This is definitely one of them. Simply because I knew people were going to take this and say, oh, they were lying. They're keeping things from us again. And you've already had people come out and simply say, this is one of the worst things that MAGA could have done. You know, this is what's going to cause people to backtrack and look at MAGA in a different way. So I kind of knew that this was going to be a problem. And I kind of knew that a lot of people would react like this. I did. Next up, we have still incongruent with what's going on with the whole Epstein thing. We have Bill O'Reilly. Shout out to Bill O'Reilly. He's actually on with Chris Cuomo. And it says Bill O'Reilly takes on Democrat loonies. Epstein with Chris Cuomo. So they have a conversation. O'Reilly or MAGA Fury over the Epstein case. Right? So Cuomo definitely here is on the side of like, listen, they said that they had this. They said that they were going to put these things out. They said that they were going to tell us, and now they're not telling us. Like, what's going on? Why is your camp doing this? So I thought it was a pretty decent conversation. So we're going to take a look at what Chris Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly covered. Let's take a listen.
Let's bring in the big man, Bill O'Reilly. Bill, thank you for joining us. Good to see you.
Welcome.
Let's start with the easy one, and then we'll get to what we were just hearing from Swalwell about what we're seeing on the left, which is unlike anything I've ever heard from the Democratic Party in my life. The Epstein thing. I think that this is a hoisted on your own petard. I don't think it's a big value situation because I never believed any of the conspiratorial talk. But the president is not well served by the people around him on this one. I don't think he really cares about Epstein one way or the other, and I don't believe there's anything in the files that kills him. But the people around him botched this, Bill, because they fed all these people this conspiracy fodder about this, and then Bondi 1 minute says it's on her desk, the next minute there's nothing to it. Cash Patel and Bongino, who made such a market in the conspiracy, all of a sudden say it's not true. It's a terrible look for the administration. What's your take?
Well, I think President Trump could correct it anytime he wants to correct it. And that's the question is, I don't know why he doesn't. So all you got to do is say to the Attorney General, you're going to hold a press conference. You're going to tell him generally what we've learned about the Epstein case in a very methodical way. You'll answer some questions. You're not to mention any names because that could destroy people. I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed. Because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be. But you certainly can have Attorney General Bondi say, this is what we know. And, you know, we're going to protect the innocent. And he's a heinous individual. In that press conference, sitting next to Pam Bondi, should be Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of Joe Biden, who had these materials for 4 years. 4 years.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Biden had it. Yeah, you don't hear that from the left, do you? No.
No, listen, well, what you do here, which I agree with, is if Merrick Garland had stuff on Trump that's in there, he would have given it to him. Now, I have to say something. There's a point of clarification. Oh, 100%. But there's a point of clarification here. People are going to hear your explanation, and they may think, oh, yeah, he wants to protect all his buddies because they were scumbags who were in the... No, that's not the point. It's the opposite point. I don't believe there is a client list. I think Bondi made a mistake when she suggested they had a client list. I don't think Epstein had anything like that. I think they have videos where he is doing disgusting things with people, but they're none of the people that people are headhunting for. And the other point is something that people will never give the president credit for, maybe me among them. But there is no client list. And if you put people's names out, they are going to sue the government and they are going to win. Because they are going to show that the government had reason to know that there was nothing felonious in their relationship with Epstein. And they put out information that was defamatory anyway. And that's the reason not to do it. You're going to ruin people's lives who had nothing to do with the behavior.
Well,
but when people hear it, it sounds like...
Trump and I were talking about unintended consequences, not legalities. Mm-hmm. And I agree with him, but this is not a difficult thing to do. Shouldn't be anyway, for Ms. Bondi. And then you can find Merrick Garland's probably at a Club Med somewhere in the Caribbean, just get him out. And
he won't come on, but it's a good point.
Yeah, you made a couple of mistakes earlier that I'm going to correct in a gentle way, because that's, of course, who I am. Number one, I don't have any buddies to protect, so anybody who would say that would be totally insane. Number two, we have seen this kind of hatred on the left before, and it happened during the Vietnam War. That you had a radical element in the Democratic Party that was supporting the Black Panthers, for example, that were calling for murder. You had Jane Fonda sitting on an anti-aircraft gun in North Vietnam while the war was going on. That's about as extreme as you get. So this has happened before. But I don't believe that most Democrats buy into this at all.
I think Murphy is irresponsible in Connecticut. I think he's a loon. I don't respect him at all. Swalwell, I do respect. I don't think he's a loon. I think he understands what's happening. But remember this, Cuomo. You get headlines by being the bomb thrower. That gets you attention. But this has happened before in our history. There's no doubt about it. But now we're in a position where the Trump administration is winning. That may end tomorrow, but it's winning. Got the big bill, got the Iranian diminishment, it's winning. And that is driving people insane on the left.
Look, I think there is a part of that. I just think that there are a lot of opportunities for Democrats to show that they would have better remedies for what is pissing people off about affordability and other inequities in the society. The real ones
I don't believe most
my father did.
I don't believe most Democrats think that Trump is responsible for the Guadalupe River. I just don't. I think it's 10%.
Oh no, I agree with you.
And a lot of them
I agree with you.
A lot of them
I
are on
agree with you,
MSNBC because they make money doing
but that's
that.
how you make it.
But
that's how you make it. And that's why they're doing it. I agree with you about the ratio. And they know it's poor form. They know it's poor form. Like I made the joke about Murphy. It's like going to a funeral for a guy who died of a heart attack and talking about his diet. It's not the right time.
But there
only doing it.
There are bad hombres on the Hill.
Yeah.
There are bad.
There's no question.
Let me take a little personal thing here, Cuomo. You ready? You okay? You ready for a personal thing?
Yeah, so far.
So Saturday night, I one of the few parties that I'm invited to because people don't like me. Your brother was there. I had a nice conversation about you weightlifting. And I said to him, Governor, do you lift those weights? Are you, I don't think he does. And then I sat right behind Senator Schumer, the most powerful Democrat in the country by title. Okay? He's finished. I'm telling you, the man, I was watching him. He didn't want to talk to me, of course. Once he didn't stick up for the Jewish students at Columbia, I just laced him. I just annihilated Schumer on WABC.
Be quiet about the attacks on the ICE officers also.
Right, well, he's through. And he knows Ocasio-Cortez is going to beat him in a primary if she chooses to run. But anyway, I'm at this place and I'm looking at what was once the most powerful Democrats in the country. It has collapsed. And that is the problem with the Democratic Party right now. No leadership at all.
And the vacuum is being filled with animosity, with grievance, with aggression.
Loons.
AOC and Bernie
Loons.
Run on the same oligarchy lines that the terrorists going after the ICE guys used. And I'm not blaming AOC and Bernie, but I'll tell you what I do blame them for, not saying anything about it.
Why not?
Right now they should be outspoken.
Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez are dangerous people, just like Mandani is dangerous. These are dangerous people. They want to blow the whole country up. Talk about working people getting it right between the eyes. I've researched this Mandani, who may be the next New York mayor. He's doing a Fidel Castro playbook almost word for word. You look back in Castro, what he was saying in 1958, Mandani's read it because he's spouting the same stuff. It's unbelievable.
But look, I don't cover the race because Andrew was in it. But what I'm saying is, Mamdani, I wouldn't discount the grievance. What he is marshaling with AOC, with Bernie, is real. Just as it was on the MAGA side, these people are disaffected and they're angry. Well, it's dangerous if their legitimate outrage doesn't find recourse. Then it gets dangerous. But I felt the same way about what Trump did with his populist movement in the beginning.
Those people are dangerous. Sanders is a communist. He wants to blow up the capitalistic system. And Ocasio-Cortez doesn't even know what communism is, I'll submit to you. She would never sit for an interview with you or me, because it would last about 2 minutes and she'd be weeping. All right? No frame of reference, doesn't understand
I may be
history,
weeping. She may punch me in the face.
Anything. Well, I predict she'll wind up on a View someday. That's where she'll be, okay? But I know I'm being harsh here, but I have to tell the truth. These are dangerous people. There's no rationalization for what they're espousing: seizure of private property, dismantlement of the country's economic system, which provides more opportunity than any other country on earth. They want to blow it up. They're dangerous people.
I think that it's about, here's what I want to be careful about. And Bill, as always, I thank you for being here. And I know you tried to kill me with my brother. You two were overheard, and you both matched your invective towards me. You were both very nasty, and if I had been there, I would have clapped you together like cymbals.
We were making fun of you. Gently.
Yeah, I know.
Gently.
No, it wasn't gentle. It was overheard, and you two deserve each other. But let me say this.
It was overheard by who? Give me a name.
No.
Don't give me an anonymous source. Give me a name.
Lolly told me. Lolly told me.
Okay.
Lolly told me.
She's on the other side.
Lolly told me. Lolly told me. Big mouth. But hold on. This is the only thing I want to be careful about. Is the people, the working people who voted for Trump are right to be desperate for something better. The working people that came out in Brooklyn and in Queens in this primary are also right to feel desperate and to want something better. It's what is being sold to them as a remedy that I believe can get very dangerous very fast. And I think it's a really important distinction to make. It's how we had the deplorables issue. I've said from the beginning, not everyone who backs President Trump is a bigot. It's just that he did happen to have a lot of bigots in the beginning who were backing him. This is the same thing. They're not all whack jobs on the left. They're not all going to attack ICE agents. But there are extremists in those ranks now. And we're going to live
absolutely. And that's why the ICE people, are protecting their families with masks.
Yeah, listen, I see it.
Quick plug.
Go ahead.
I am like dominating YouTube now. I don't even know how it happens. I don't even know how to get on YouTube. But apparently my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Bill O'Reilly, is exploding. Now, one of the reasons is that I'm taking topics that I don't do on the No Spin News, I don't do on News Nation, and I do about 12 minutes. And the topic this week fits right into what you were asking. The disenchantment of people who are not succeeding in America. But they are exploiting this, and they want to create, they being the radical left, a welfare state. Exceedingly dangerous. So check it out on YouTube. Cuomo, you'll be a better man for it.
I blocked you. Bill O'Reilly, thank you for being on. As always, appreciate.
I always have fun watching Bill O'Reilly and Chris Cuomo's interactions. They've been friends for a long time. I think they touched on a lot of decent points. Chris Cuomo he makes a point when he just says like, hey, where is it? You know what I mean? But Bill O'Reilly, I think he always has great comebacks with the way that he explains things. He lays it out. And just not too long ago, we had Fox News drop something very congruent with what we're talking about as far as this whole Epstein thing. We actually had something where President Trump defends Attorney General Pam Bondi amid DOJ Epstein files criticism. This Fox, Live Now from Fox actually dropped this just 41 minutes ago. I saw it when it first dropped, so I knew I was going to bring it to you guys before we ended this first live stream. So because we've been watching things pertaining to the whole Epstein, file client list saga, I wanted to play this one before we close out the live stream since it was just dropped a couple minutes ago. Because now we have President Trump defending, actually, Attorney General Pam Bondi, amid DOJ Epstein files criticisms, right? So, and I think this is important because we have so many people calling for Pam Bondi to be fired over this. Like a lot of people say, President Trump, we want Pam Bondi to be fired over this. So I don't think President Trump thinks it's that drastic. That's my personal opinion about watching the president, what I've gotten from him over watching him his first term and the second term. I really don't think so. A lot of people have put their 2 cents out there about what they think President Trump might feel about this. If I'm honest, I don't think he cares that much. I don't think he thinks it's that serious. And yeah, people are saying like he's having a meltdown with the media, but I just think he has bigger fish to fry. And if the AG is deciding that there's nothing in there that needs to come out any further, I think he's just gonna be like, okay, then she just decides that, right? I was facetious at one point. If it wasn't a week ago, it was just a couple days ago, because we do go live 6 days a week, that I said, I played a video where Elon Musk made a tweet on or X post, and he said that the reason why President Trump's cabinet wasn't dropping the Epstein files was because Donald Trump was in the Epstein files. And I said, wouldn't it be comical if that's the reason why all of a sudden Pam Bondi and everyone were to put this on hold? Well, when I said I was being facetious in saying that, I meant like, well, I actually do think it's a possibility, but I was teasing because I want you guys to think, right? I don't want us to ever just jump to one side and don't think of the possibility of the other side, right? I'm very much a full spectrum person, so I have to look at both sides and then kind of make a decision somewhere in the middle based off of what I'm seeing or where I land. So I don't necessarily think that that's why they weren't released. I actually think the opposite now, right? Being what they saw and depending on who saw it. If there was someone who had something on President Trump that could probably get him impeached right away, get him just drop a bomb on his whole entire cabinet, I definitely think it would be out by now. So I don't think that there's anything like that in the Epstein case, client list files or whatever they're hiding. But there's obviously something as to why we're being told now, like, oh, he actually didn't kill himself in prison, and he actually did kill himself in prison, and then we get shown this random camera angle that, I mean, it's just one angle, and Candace Owens was the main one who said this. She's like, oh yeah, because there's no way someone could have went from another angle and killed him, right? Like, there's no other way. And I guess she's saying, like, are you saying this is the only camera that's pointing to his cell? Like, there's no other camera that's, in a hallway, or or is there no hallway based on what we see? So she was very skeptical of that, and I played both her her perspective of it and Ben Shapiro's, because I thought they were both really good. Where Ben Shapiro thinks that if you were watching this case and actually paying attention to it, then you already know there was no client list. That's what Ben Shapiro said. Candace Owens was like, hey, they're just flat out lying. So I like both sides, so I played both sides. So right here we have live from Fox covering President Trump defends Attorney General Pam Bondi amid DOJ Epstein files criticism. Let's take a listen.
Westfall, a live look at the back in live now. I'm Austin Westfall, a live look at the White House, where it's approaching 7 p.m. in the nation's capital. Some breaking news to get to. President Trump is defending his attorney general amid the Department of Justice's Epstein files criticism. President Trump posting a lengthy statement on his platform, Truth Social. I've got the entire thing in front of me here, just to give you an idea of how long this post is.
Wow, that was a long
That's what we're working with. I'm going to read the full thing. We were covering this last night, some of the internal disputes, if you want to put it that way, between Bondi and the FBI's Dan Bongino related to the Epstein files. This is what Trump said on Truth Social moments ago. I'm reading it verbatim. What's going on with my boys, and in some cases, gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it, all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? They haven't even given up on the John F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King Jr. files. no matter how much success we have had securing the border, deporting criminals, fixing the economy, energy dominance, a safer world where Iran will not have nuclear weapons, it's never enough for some people. We are about to achieve more in 6 months than any other administration has achieved in over 100 years. And we have so much more to do, Trump says. He continues, we are saving our country and making America great again, which will continue to be our complete priority. The left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI must be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2020, and arresting thugs and criminals instead of spending months and months looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job, Trump says. She's great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen, and they tried to do the same thing in 2024. That's what she's looking into as AG and much more. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cared about. The final sentence reads, thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, that's the full thing. Read it verbatim. President Trump responding to some of the reports out there about some of the internal friction with his FBI and his Attorney General. One of the questions last night was, how does FBI Director Kash Patel fit into all this? This is what he sent out today. He says the conspiracy theories just aren't true. Never have been. It's an honor to serve the President of the United States, and I'll continue to do so for as long as he calls on me. Time will tell where Dan Bongino fits into this. Axios had an exclusive saying that he and Bondi got into an argument at the White House. In fact, it was reported that he didn't go to work on Friday. So we're waiting to hear more from Bongino. Also from Bondi as well. But that's what Kash Patel is saying, and that's how President Trump is weighing in as well. All right, a live look at the White House. About 7 on the nose. But I want to...
Well, President Trump, he's taking his Attorney General serious, which that's not shocking to me. President Trump is he's in support of his whole entire cabinet. And it says it in the letter, you know, he says we have a perfect cabinet and there are people that are trying to destroy it, you know, and he tells them, he says, leave Pam Bondi alone, let her do her job. So it's not surprising to me that he's supporting her. He put his cabinet together, so everyone who he has in his cabinet, he loves. Whether you're talking about Pete Hegseth, whether you're talking about JD, whether you're talking about Tulsi Gabbard, it doesn't matter, right? He loves his whole cabinet. So his post just proves it. So it's not a shocking post to me at all. I expected him to drop something like that. And yeah, I just I appreciate him just sticking to his guns, you know. He says, hey, back up off her. Like, let her do her job. She's great at what she does. And he just, period, she's great. So yeah, that's President Trump for you in support of his cabinet, which is not shocking to me at all. I'm hoping Bongino stays on. John Bongino stays on. I hate that this is happening. You know, right now I'm thinking like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It could be just hearsay, right? They don't know why the man stayed home. He could have mentioned something to someone on a Wednesday, and maybe on Friday he's like, hey, I just need to take a mental health day. So I'm not gonna even put that much thought into it. I'm hoping he stays on. I think that as chief FBI director, he's great. So I really hope that he stays on. And yeah, when we come back to the second live stream in a couple hours, I'm gonna jump on probably around 11. We're definitely going to react to this $40 million bounty that Iran apparently has on our president. I'm telling you, the audacity.
All of this coming.
The audacity. So I'm just going to let that sit right there. But yeah, guys, I'll see you guys soon for the second live stream. Until next time, guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Love yourselves. Love one another. Be peaceful. Peace.